Well, our top 10 crimes have consistently maintained the same categories. Alcohol offenses continue to be one of the top offenses. Basically, we got a lot of drunks doing a lot of stupid stuff. And that's just something we have to deal with on an everyday basis. But on some of the other more notable crimes, some of the crimes of violence, more gun crime, finding more guns, gun sales, that type of stuff, we're seeing a lot more of that. And shots fired have definitely been a major concern for a lot of the community. But we've really stepped up our efforts. We have an officer that is pretty much our gun guru, and he works closely with the ATF. He works closely with the United States Attorney's Office. So we are very relentless in our prosecution of gun crime. So if we can get rid of these guys early on, even if it's a cheesy little federal gun crime, it's going to get them off the streets. That's definitely going to be a benefit for the community, to get them out of our hair and take away the opportunity for them to do any more mayhem in our community.
In general, I guess, how do you feel the general public should view these arrest stats for the last 10 years?
I think most people would probably agree with the fact that alcohol and controlled substances are a problem in the community. When it comes to alcohol, so much of it is not just the fact that they're drinking or driving, it's the fact that they're doing other things while they're drinking, getting into fights, causing problems, causing disturbances. So drinking definitely continues to be an issue, but I think for everything else, it's peaks and valleys. We go up and down different years, but I think substance abuse continues to be a major concern for the community because it leads to so many other crimes.
This is our snail machine. This was purchased for us by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Basically what this machine does is we're able to stick the muzzle of a gun, a handgun, or a rifle, and stick it into here. And we have a shot vac that collects any particles. And basically we pull the trigger and we collect the shell casing. So the actual bullet, it's kind of shaped as a snail in here, and the actual bullets come out. They get collected in a little basket in here, and the main purpose is to keep the shell casing to send in for the NIBIN test.
And why is that? Can you talk about how that shell casing is useful for your investigation?
Yes, the shell casing, after it's fired, the gun will leave some markings on it, kind of gives it its own fingerprint. That shell casing is then sent to the DCI lab or another agency that has a NIBIN machine. We send it to the DCI lab, and they will tell us if a gun has been fired and their shell casings have been sent in, and they'll compare them.
Okay, and can you talk a little bit about kind of how things work internally in terms of when you fire the bullet, what happens?
Yeah, so basically what happens is basically just a steel trap, and like I said, it's kind of shaped in a snail. So the bullet travels in here and it's circular, and it just goes through here, and then it's actually collected into this little basket in here. Let's see if I can get it off right now. It's kind of stuck right now, but there's a basket, here we go, that just water and oil. And the bullets, they travel through this machine into here, and there's, like I said, there's actually a little basket in here that catches the actual round itself. So here's the actual bullet, what it looks like after it's fired, and the shell casing will fall out and we'll catch that, and that's basically what we send in.
So inside, it's just oil and water?
The oil and water is what sits at the bottom, and that kind of stops it into the water, but the snail itself is what slows it down and keeps it from going out anywhere else.
And then just lastly, so how is this able to help you in your investigations by having this here and then being able to send the casing to the DCI lab? How does that help you guys?
Well, it helps us and also helps the DCI lab because we're able to test fire the guns here. So we test fire guns that don't have to be forensically examined. For instance, if we have to get DNA or fingerprints off the guns, those go straight to the lab. We don't do those testing here. But if it's just a gun that was found on somebody and we know they had it and there's no contention of who had the gun, we'll test fire it. Send 3 shell casings, we'll test fire it 3 times, send those 3 shell casings to the DCI lab. That takes the time frame down immensely because now the DCI lab does not have to test fire the gun. So it's basically the transition and the turnaround time is very quickly, as opposed to before have to send the gun down. And It's prioritized. So just a simple felon in possession, although it's a serious crime, DCI lab, murders and gun crimes with shootings come before the felon in possession. So this actually saves them the time of test firing the gun and going through the whole process, when we can take the initial process out and all they have to do is enter the shell casing into the NIBA machine.